I have an MD from Harvard. I am board certified in cardiothoracic medicine and trauma surgery. I have been awarded citations from 7 different medical boards in New England, and I am never, ever sick at sea. So I ask you, when someone goes into that chapel and they fall on their knees and they pray to God that their wife doesn't miscarry, or that their daughter doesn't bleed to death, or that their mother doesn't suffer acute neural trauma from post-operative shock, who do you think they're praying to? Now go ahead and read your Bible, Dennis, and you go to your church, and with any luck, you might win the annual raffle. But if you're looking for God, he was in operating room number 2 on November 17th, and he doesn't like to be second guessed. You ask me if I have a God complex? Let me tell you something. I am God. And this sideshow is over.
Well, what about the episode? God? Why do bad things happen to good people? Okay, welcome back to NostalgiaCast. I'm Johnny Craddock,
And I'm Darren Lundberg.
and today we're going to talk about Malice, 1993 film written by Aaron Sorkin and Scott Frank,
Hmm,
directed by Harold Becker, who we've talked about before when we did our Taps episode, if you remember
right.
right.
A long time
Um,
ago.
yeah, starring Alec Baldwin, Nicole Kidman, and Bill Pullman. A lot of other big names are in there. We can mention a few of them, I guess. We see Gwyneth Paltrow at
Right.
one point.
Small part.
Um, also, George C. Scott has a cameo in this movie.
Right.
Anne Bancroft is in it.
Hmm.
Um, who else? Who else? Oh, Peter Gallagher.
Hmm. Who was Bill
Um,
Pullman's brother and while you were sleeping?
that's right. That's right.
A lot of our lady
Uh,
listeners will know that for a fact.
Tobin Bell,
Right.
Jigsaw is in it. Let's see. Who am I missing?
Well, Josh Molina shows up. I know he's been in like every Aaron Sorkin project. Those two are
Yeah.
attached at the hip. So yeah, just a lot of good. That Gwyneth Paltrow cameo or part, like I wouldn't call it a cameo because she wasn't really an established star yet. But when she
Yeah.
showed up, I don't think I saw her name in the cast. I was like, oh, Gwyneth Paltrow. So it was just interesting seeing
Yeah.
her just in one scene, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Darren,
Oh,
this
BB Newirth. BB Newirth is in there too. We can't forget her.
oh, okay. That's right. Um, anyway, this movie, we saw it together. I saw it with you for the first time. I think this is when we were all about Aaron Sorkin. A Few
Mhm.
Good Men was a big thing for us, and we were kind of like going down that rabbit hole. And you said, "Hey, there's a movie called Malice that he wrote. You want to come watch it?" And I was like, "Sure." So we ended up watching it, and I know we both really liked it when we first saw it. Like I don't know what it was about it. Like it just captivated me, and I was like in love with it. And I went out and I bought it, and I didn't watch it a lot. I think I would put it in and I'd fall asleep, but it'd been like at least 20, 25 years since I've seen it, and so watching it again. It didn't quite hold up the way I thought it did. Like in my memory, this
Interesting.
movie was like just fantastic, and it was so well written and so structured, and all the twists and turns were so great.
Yeah.
And not that they're not in there and they're not good, but for some reason it just did not land the way I wanted it to, or the way I thought it was going to. And we talked about this when we did what was it? What episode was it we talked about? Oh, was it Few Good Men?
Probably.
It might have been the Few Good Men episode because we were talking about Aaron Sorkin, and you were saying how what's that Facebook movie?
The Social Network.
Yeah. How you thought that was like an embarrassment of riches, and how it was so well done, so well acted, and so well written and everything. When you got David Fincher as director, all this stuff. And I agree with you. You got, great talent on that movie, and it is well done, and everything looks great. But I have a hard time with some of the actors, so I have a hard time with that movie. I like Bill Pullman. I've always liked Nicole Kidman. You mean Alec Baldwin's a decent actor. I
Mhm.
don't have a really problem with his acting. I think he's good in most things he does. So this movie, again, for some reason, I had a special place for it because I just thought back when we first saw it, it was like, man, it was so good. And I just kind of held it on the high esteem for a long time. And I hadn't seen it for a while. But anyway, so watching again, we used to, in our episodes, we used to do like a worth remembering, worth a remake.
Yeah.
And if I were to go back to that kind of format of what we used to do, I would say it's worth a remake because there's a lot of things that they could have done better and kind of like just we could talk about it later, but there's so much stuff that I think just seems convoluted and just too much that they tried to shove into this thing, and they tried to make it twistier or scarier than it is. And I don't know, like there's a lot of things that could have been done better. So I think not that the acting wasn't good or that the writing wasn't good. I just think like there's just some story problems for the most part, and it just doesn't quite land the way I remembered it landing. But
Mhm.
anyway, what are your feelings on your first time you saw it?
Well, I don't honestly like thinking about it. My memories of this movie start with you. I can't recall if I saw this before. And or I don't know why I would have, because of the Sorkin connection, maybe. I don't know if I saw it before, and that's why I wanted to watch it with you. And then maybe I sat on the sidelines and just watched your face as the twist started happening, because it's that kind of movie where you're excited to see the reveals. Like the reveals come at you fast, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of them, and so you're not. It's kind of breathtaking the first time you watch it, and then you're like, I want to show this to somebody else just to see how they watch it. And so I don't remember I don't have a specific memory of sitting back and watching how you'd react. I just remember that there are some movies that they really just hit you at a certain age. And I think since we were on a Sorkin high, we were just primed for this movie, so we loved it. But I had the same reaction as you. It was very weird. Like just started jotting down a lot of, not really nitpicks, but a lot of notes where I was like, oh, that's not right, or this doesn't work, or that was weird. It seemed very written. Like there
hmm,
are scenes that seem like, there's one in particular with Anne Bancroft that seems like it would have been a really good play, like on stage. A 7-minute scene would have been great. But as a movie, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know why she does the magic trick, why she talks in a New York accent or whatever. And I don't know. It's just very strange. It's very showy. But again, it would play. I just thought it would play better on stage than it would in a movie. It's just like a 1-2 shot. Like it's just back and forth for the whole time. It's not really that well shot, but that's my memory of it. It's very strange watching a movie like this, that you sit down and you're like, this is going to be great. I'm going to I haven't seen this forever. Last time I saw it, I really loved it. When you mentioned that you wanted to do this movie, I was so excited to watch it. But then like I said, I started writing down notes and I'm like, this isn't playing the same way at all. Like
yeah.
I remember.
And if I'm being honest, I actually fell asleep. I watched it with my wife, and I don't know why I always do this, but I fell asleep about halfway through. I woke up at the end, and I was like, "No, I gotta watch it again." So I went and watched it again. I was like, "Okay, I see why I fell asleep because it gets kind of boring at one point,
Hmm.
and that's why I dozed off." But anyway, um, so Harold Becker is the director.
Hmm.
He hasn't done a whole lot of stuff. We talked about him when we did our Taps episode, which we both really liked.
Yeah,
Um, he's done a few things like Domestic Disturbance, City Hall, Sea of Love, I think is one of the ones he's
it's a good
done.
one. Uh-huh.
Um, anyway, I think he's a decent director. He's not bad, but he hasn't done a whole lot. His career kind of like didn't really go anywhere. Um, what do you think about that? Like, do you think there's a reason for that?
Well, The Onion Field is another good one. Looking at Vision Quest, I know that poster. It's got Matthew Modine on the front. I haven't seen it. Sea of Love is a very good mystery. Al Pacino, Ellen Barkin. It's a very. I have good memories of that one. City Hall, Al
Al
Pacino,
Pacino, right?
Mercury Rising. Not a good Bruce Willis movie. I remember not liking that one. So you have Mercury Rising, and then you have Domestic Disturbance with
Hmm.
John
John
Travolta.
Travolta. Yep.
And I did not like that one either. So maybe it's just, I think City Hall was received in a way, John Cusack and Al Pacino. I think that was received like he was supposed to be an Oscar contender and just nothing happened with it. And so I think he just maybe lost his footing in a way. Like I said, Mercury Rising is not good. I don't like that. It's like an autistic, yeah, yeah. The autistic kid is like a under threat, in danger the whole time. It's just very, very strange. So, but you look at Taps and think he's a very strong director that way. It's just weird. And Malice, I think it's very strongly directed. You know what I mean? It's got style and it's got atmosphere to it. So
Yeah.
like you, I don't have any issues with him, and I think he's a good director. I just think maybe he didn't get the work that really would have helped him soar after a bit.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Sorkin, which we did talk about earlier, this wasn't he wasn't written by Sorkin. It was a screenplay by Aaron Sorkin and Scott Frank. So
Right.
there's a first version of the script called Damages.
Right.
Who wrote that one?
It was a guy named Jonas McCord. He shares story credit with Aaron Sorkin, and I think that's because you said that it was named Damages when it was first written. I think that was in '87, and Castle Rock actually bought the rights to it. But then they went and turned around. I think the executive, Rachel Pfeiffer, I think that was her name, she had to step down. And so that was basically put in production hell. And then as it was sitting there, Aaron Sorkin was brought in and he helped write like a couple drafts. But then it's cool. I like this idea that he wrote these drafts, but then he had to go and move over to A Few Good Men that he was adapting,
Hmm.
also from Castle Rock. And as he did that, Scott Frank, who wrote Get Shorty, Minority Report, a bunch of movies that we and Dead Again, movies that we enjoy, he was brought in. He wrote a couple drafts. He added like thriller elements to it, and then the way that the movie ended. It ended in a way where the hero of the movie actually just walked away. He didn't like get his what was coming. He didn't get his revenge, so to speak. And that's how it ended. And so Harold Becker was like, "That's not very satisfying." So when Aaron Sorkin was done with A Few Good Men, Becker brought him back in, and Sorkin added the ending to the movie that made it more of a crowd pleaser. I thought that was really interesting, like ending it in a way that was a downer, and instead of letting the hero like get what was you know, get
Yeah.
what he deserved.
I mean, the
When I say
ending is,
deserved, it sounds like a villain. I was trying not to. He's not a villain. I'm just saying, like he can't. He's got to get his. It's just not very satisfying to see him be duped, right?
yeah, and the ending we do get is satisfying. I think
Yeah.
it's nice the reveal of the kid who, being blind and all that.
Mhm.
And I think all of that is satisfying. It happens quick though. The climax between Pullman and Kidman when they, have the little struggle, that happens quick. Like it's
Yeah.
just all of a sudden it's over. You're like, oh, that was it.
Right.
Like that was fast. But no, we talked about this before we started recording, and that was the fact that Scott Frank has a style, right? Like,
Mhm.
and Sorkin has a style, and you can tell when you're watching an Aaron Sorkin movie or when Scott Frank has got his hands on it. And there's a scene in Malice um, uh, that just doesn't sound like Aaron Sorkin. And so
Mhm.
when the scene came on, I kind of perked up. I was like, "Oh, this sounds different. Like, what happened here?" It's
Yeah.
the Anne Bancroft scene you talked about,
Right.
and just the dialogue seems, I wouldn't say wittier, just kind of like sharper and like it just seems like there's something to it. Like, and I went, "That's got to be Scott Frank because that sounds like a Get Shorty scene."
Mhm.
Even that's something you'd hear in Out of Sight or something.
It sounds very film noirish all of a sudden. Like again, it
Yeah.
reminded me of the Branagh older Andy Garcia scene, which is just the same. They're both in Dead Again. Branagh and Garcia are both seated in chairs, like by a window, it seems like, and they're having it's the same setup as Dead Again, and it seems like the conversation is kind of toned the same, where you have Andy Garcia speaking in a weird voice because he has obviously the smoking has gotten to him, taken away his
Yeah.
voice. But Bancroft, I'm not sure why she has a New York accent, and she really lays into it, so it really seems like this was my Oscar bait, right? I think she and Pullman actually worked for 6 weekends trying to nail down the 7 minute scene. I thought that was interesting, but it seems like I don't know what you thought. Like it seems like an Oscar bait. It seemed like, oh, it's Anne Bancroft, like back in charge. But I'm like, what are you doing? Like most of the time, I was like, why are you doing that? Like the dialogue was very strange. I didn't, like I said, I didn't understand what they were talking about or what anything had to do with anything. I just thought it was, like I said, it just felt written. It felt like it was better for the stage. Like we would have a fun time performing it on stage.
Yeah, but when that scene pops in, like I say, it's so different and out of place in the rest of the movie. Like
Right.
the movie is going a certain direction, a certain way, and all of a sudden the scene pops up, and that's why I kind of went, "What? What is this? This seems different." It just
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
seem the same. And we can't be sure that that's Scott Frank who wrote all that scene or whatever, but you assume it's Scott because it's different from the rest of the film.
Yeah, because like you said, Aaron Sorkin really has a style. Like we talked about off camera, or maybe we mentioned it here. That "I am God" speech is very, very Sorkin. And one of the things that we mentioned in A Few Good Men is that we liked his writing better when he first started because it's just very witty and it's funny, and he still has that. But I think he kind of disappears up his own ass in a way lately, especially with The West Wing, all the Sports Night, all that stuff. It seems like he's addicted to his own voice and you can tell it's an Aaron Sorkin movie now, and that's one reason why I thought Social Network worked so well is that Fincher tamed a lot of the Sorkinness and really like grounded it so it didn't seem too pompous, I guess you could say. But this, like I said, when I was listening to this, yeah, The God speech sounds very Sorkin, but not a lot of the rest of it does. Like, I don't know if I could pick out a lot of dialogue that sound, oh, this is a great Sorkin bit. And then you're absolutely right. It's a complete tonal shift, it seems like, where Andy's talking to Mrs. Kensinger, whatever her name is, the Bancroft character. So yeah, it's jarring in a way, but you're right. You kind of wake up during it.
Yeah. The one thing I will say this movie has going for it is it does kind of give you little hints here and there about what's coming. You know what I mean? Because with Nicole Kidman's character, she's supposed to like love kids and want to have kids, and you hear that from Bill Pullman's character. But yet when you first meet her, she's like yelling at the kids, and she's like threatening them that a kid monster's going to eat them or something. And you're like,
Mm.
she likes kids. You really like, and you
Right.
later on you find out that she doesn't like kids. That she's willing to go through all this like traumatic stuff to make sure she never has kids in order to get money for what you know what I mean. It's just anyway. I do like that as you're watching it, these things are slowly revealed over time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it does kind of keep you like, what's going to happen now? And the whole serial rapist thing with Coben Bell's character is kind of a red herring. It's kind of also like, what's
Yeah.
that to do with anything? Um, but I don't know. Like again, it's like you said before, it's kind of overwritten, and it's maybe it's just maybe they tried to cram too much into this movie, and they tried
Mhm.
to make it too twisty and turny. I don't know.
Right. Well, I want to come back to Tobin Bell, but obviously this is a big spoiler. This is a big twist movie, right? I think we forgot to mention up front that this is don't listen to this if you haven't seen the movie because to me there isn't really much to talk about besides the twists. And when the
Right.
twists happen, they happen really fast. Like they start and they're big reveals. They're huge reveals. You're like, "Whoa." So I do like that quite a bit. I do think, and again, I'll just mention it right here. The Tobin Bell sequence where he's the serial killer, right? Obviously, we know Tobin Bell. We already talked about him for in the Line of Fire, right? We already had that conversation, and then he's also in The Firm, which I thought was interesting. He had a really good summer. So he had Malice, he had he had The Firm, and he had In the Line of Fire. One of my friends on Twitter, Jonathan Watkins, he actually surprised me. He said that he actually talked to Tobin Bell at one point. I think it was like at a Comic Con or some kind of like a fan X kind of thing. And he got to ask him a question about the movie. And Bell said that in the fight scene with Pullman, Pullman busted his nose. Like when they were fighting, he hit his nose accidentally. And he was afraid because he had to go back and do more shooting for the firm. He thought that was going to get him fired from the part. So I just thought that was too good to mention. I'm like, dude, I need to be able to mention this. And so Jonathan was very he very generous letting us talk about that. But I do have to say, I think this movie is really, really funny because I think it's the only movie in history where a serial killer serves as a growth moment for the main character, right? Because
Yeah.
Pullman's character, Andy, he's kind of a wuss. He has that part where he sees his wife with the Gallagher lawyer character and he confronts her about it a little bit and she fights back. And so he backs down. I'm sorry. And he's always like that. So he seems very timid. So the serial killer marching around, and that's where you have Gwyneth Paltrow as one of the victims. And he's,
Mhm.
BB Newirth, it's funny that BB Newirth has a really, really thick Boston accent, like
Yeah, I
really
was going to
thick.
mention that. I was going to mention that. Yeah.
And nobody else really seems to, but she really goes for it, which is entertaining. But is it because they're just like, oh, just go for it, let's do anything, like doesn't really matter, let's just have fun with it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Anne Bancroft's in New York and she has the Boston and
Just
Bill Pullman
really
has
thick.
nothing.
Right, right. But it is funny. So it does the thing that serial killer stuff do. Like he's talking with Gwyneth Paltrow. It sets her up as kind of this. She doesn't really. She's not in. She's not concerned with her schoolwork, things like that. And Pullman's trying to get her more involved. And when Paltrow walks out of his office, she bumps into Bell, who's actually the custodian. I'm like, oh, that's what you'd find in a normal mystery, like in a Law and Order episode. Oh, that was actually the killer that she bumped into, right? But
Hmm.
he goes downstairs after everything. His light bulb breaks, and his secretary's like, "You should really go home. It's after she's left, the wife." And so, what's the wife's name? I'm just gonna say the wife, but that's not right.
Tracy?
Tracy. Okay, it's after Tracy's left him. And so his light bulb breaks. He goes downstairs. He finds the hair in the jewelry box,
Yep.
in the custodian's jewelry box. And then they have that confrontation. And it's just really funny that it becomes, again, it's like a character moment for him. Now he's captured a serial killer. He can be a tough guy. Now he can be in charge. I just thought that was really, when you say that it's convoluted, I think that kind of ties in with that because again, there's a serial killer in this, Johnny, a serial killer. and it's
Yeah,
just used to make the hero become stronger so he can actually put up a fight later. I thought that was funny.
yeah. You kind of like are waiting for the reveal of who the killer is. Then you find out who it is, and you go, oh, and then you just gloss over it and you go past it, and you're like, oh, that's it. We're not
Yeah.
going to focus any more time on him at all.
Nope.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
Um, but let's talk about. Oh wait, was
Well, do you want to
yeah,
talk about the twist? I think we should talk about the twist a
yeah.
little bit
Let's do
more.
that. Oh yeah, okay, you're right.
Well,
Um,
what was the biggest twist for you?
well,
Like, what was the biggest reveal?
I think for me the big thing was when he's in their house and he follows her to the house and they reveal that Alec Baldwin is the the lover doctor guy. Um,
Lillian Field, right?
Lillian Field, yeah. And that was for me like the oh my gosh moment. But when it's all said and done and you're done watching that and you kind of think about it, all I could think of was like that was way too much effort put into trying to scam this insurance company or whatever malpractice lawsuit for $20 million and have everything go exactly the way you want it to go to take the drugs to make your the cyst on your ovaries so you had to have surgery have the person who does the surgery your lover like allow you to marry somebody else like find the mark from high school have him get married to that guy pretend you want kids and then when you have the problem come in I'll open you up I'll do surgery on you I'll wreck your ovaries all these things that they talk about doing and she actually goes through just to like suffer and go through this stuff just so they can get this lawsuit put up and try to get this money and then to have it all work out so perfectly is like how the heck could it was just too much just too much.
Well, it's like a 4D chess thing, right? I mean, there's so many steps ahead, and you're right. Again, when you're watching the movie the first time, and at our age, what were we, 93? We were
Like
16, something like
yeah
that,
15,
right?
16.
15, 16. So we were primed for this kind of over the top, in your face kind of, and we took it as fun, serious entertainment. And it is. It's the kind of movie where, as an actor, you look at Baldwin and Kidman and Pullman, and you're like, "Ooh, I want to sign on for this because the twists are so juicy, right? It's going to be so fun to play this in front of an audience." And I think when you're 16, this really hits you as one of those movies. But now, when you watch it again, when the twist happened, I thought that same thing. I'm like, so wait a minute, you're talking about she has to build a relationship and date this guy, marry this guy, have their relate where they know each other about kids, and then you have the doctor come in. Then you do the thing where she had they again. He moves in so he can give her those shots and make her
Right.
stomach cramp, her stomach pains worse, and
Yeah.
that whole thing. You have the conversation with him and Pullman at the bar, right? And then he's talking about, well, I think it's Pullman, it's Andy that says, I would cut off my finger or something like that. And then Jed is like, are you serious? I mean, would you do that for this much money? Would you do it for $1 million? And it seems like a serious conversation, and it's not really threatening, it's just weird. And then Jed does this thing where he laughs, is like, I wouldn't do it either. It's that kind of thing. So I think that tied in with, would you have somebody open up your stomach and twist your ovaries around for
Yeah,
$20 million?
obviously she would.
Right.
Doesn't like kids anyway.
Yeah, it's very, and again, I had to go to Wikipedia to find out, to make sure I got the twist right. When Andy goes to see Tracy's mother, um, he finds out that Tracy is a con artist. She declares Andy is an easy mark. Tracy has an affair with a wealthy man who pays her to have an abortion. She started as a con woman because she pocketed that money and just went and had an abortion on the cheap at a clinic. And then next she took up with a Dr. Lillenfield, which I think she mentions during their conversations with Andy, stuff like that. Andy follows up on those leads, and that's when you have that big reveal that Lillianfield is actually Jed, and who he thought
Right.
was his friend and on his side, because he does go to his hotel room and say, "Can you help me fight this?" Right? And I don't know, you kind of feel more for Alec Baldwin's character than you end up feeling for Nicole Kidman's character in a way, because I just think that Baldwin has that scene where Tracy's on the operating table and he pauses for a second and she calls him out on it later. And it's like, yeah, he did do that. And because he had that conversation with Andy, it's like, do we really need to go through this? This is somebody's body and I'm going to be out of a job for in this
Yeah.
area. Right. I don't know. I just thought when you're watching it, those twists when they happen are so fun because you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, as you're watching it. And then as an adult, you're like, but wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's really, really complicated. So,
Yeah.
and then I guess at some point, because she shacked up with Lillenfield, I'm not sure where the connection is with Andy and how they figured out, oh, because you went to school with him, we can make that connection. The movie is not very clear on that point, I think, because I'm struggling to remember where that part comes. Maybe I'm dumb and I just forgot, but
No,
I
they
think
never tell you that, I don't think.
yeah. So again, that ties in with, well, is that why they picked him? Like, how do they pick him as a mark? Did Alec Baldwin, the Jed, pick him? It's just, it's when you think about it, it starts giving you a headache because you're like, that's just
Yeah.
the twists are fun, but how do they get there? It doesn't seem, it doesn't play fair, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I can see that. But it does keep you entertained and it keeps you on the edge of the seat and it keeps you wanting to see more, I guess. So in the long run, I guess it does do its job in
Mhm.
entertaining you and, keeping you interested. So
Yeah.
there's that. It's got that going for
Okay.
it. Um, so yeah, the acting.
Okay.
I think the acting still holds up. Let's talk about Alec Baldwin because, he is God. So,
Right.
but uh, I think he's good in this. I really like him. In 30 Rock, obviously.
Mhm.
I think most people like him in that. I think it's pretty funny in that.
Right.
But I think this is probably one of his best things. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really seen much of anything he's done recently, but I like him as this character. I think he's got a presence, and I think he commands the screen. And I think he's fun to watch.
Yeah. The note that I had on Alec Baldwin, it's because when he started out, like Hunt for Red October and Married to the Mob and Glengarry Glen Ross, right? You took him very, very seriously as an actor. And I don't know where the shift happened. I don't know if it happened with 30 Rock, because the way he performs his lines in 30 Rock is the same way he performs his lines in this. But
Yeah,
he tweaks it just like a degree, so it goes from being serious to being really funny, right?
yeah,
The I am God speech, I totally get that, right? But as Jack Donaghy, however you pronounce his name on 30 Rock, you could have him perform that same thing and it would be hilarious, like as his Jack character, right? It would be so
all
funny.
right.
But in
Yeah,
here, it's like, oh, this guy is a pompous ass, right? It's
it's like menacing.
yeah, it's just very strange. And movies like The Shadow, which came out the next year, I think Baldwin, he was offered the role of Bruce Wayne in Batman and didn't take it. And I think The Shadow was his way of kind of reclaiming that because the Lamont Cranston is a Bruce Wayne type, or Bruce Wayne is a Lamont Cranston type character, whichever one come first. But in The Shadow, he plays threatening, but he also plays it very sly and funny. And it's hard to get a grasp on that movie because it's not one or the other. It's like both, just you at a flip of a switch. So I don't know if that was the turning point. I don't know if 30 Rock was the turning point when Alec Baldwin shows up in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and he has that speech that he gives about Ethan Hunt being the living manifestation of destiny. The moment that where Alec Baldwin is as an actor at that point, I'm like, I don't know if I can take you. Is that supposed to be funny when you say that, or is that a line that you're like, oh, that's awesome and that's so cool? It's hard to get a beat on Alec Baldwin once he stars in 30 Rock, but like I said, I do like him in this movie. He really bites. We said in the Few Good Men episode, it was fun watching Tom Cruise bite into the Aaron Sorkin dialogue. Alec Baldwin bites
Yeah,
into a lot of this dialogue. I think he's great.
yeah. Nicole Kidman, how do you think she did? I think she's fine. Here's the thing. When she does the acting like she's in pain and doubling over, those moments I just don't buy. Even though when you watch it, you think, is she faking it? Like, is that supposed to be she's just pretending to be sick? And when you realize that the reveal is she really was. There really was a cyst on her ovary, and she had to have. You're like, well, that was really bad acting then, because
Yeah,
it just seemed like she was, supposed to double over in pain at this point. So she does. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
feel the pain from the character.
Right. Well, again, we talked about her in Far and Away. We talked about her as kind of an up and coming actress in that. I know she was in Dead Calm, which is a very good movie with Sam Neill. Um, and then she was in Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise. That's where that started. Far and Away, everything. This was 93. And again, she had yet to star in like To Die For and Batman
Mhm.
Forever. So she wasn't quite a star yet. But again, like I was saying, this is one of those where if you're offered this movie, you're like, yeah, I want to be a part of this because it's very juicy and the twists are great. So I It's interesting because when you watch a movie like this, Johnny, you're watching for clues. Like the second time you watch it, like, oh, let me see if there are any giveaways. And I didn't really. There's a scene where Alec Baldwin walks in on her in the bathroom or whatever,
Right.
and they have but the way that that scene's played, he's coming across as a womanizer, and you don't know if he's going to try to seduce Tracy out from under Andy, right? So I think that's how that scene plays. But other than that, the only real tell is when Jed has all those girls over, and it was a shock watching this in my living room, my kids coming in and out. This wasn't a movie that I wanted them to sit down and watch, but they were walking around, and there were sex scenes that would pop in. There's a Nicole Kidman, Bill Pullman scene, which I think Aaron Sorkin did not want to write, but Harold Becker wanted him to have that in there. There's that scene with him and the nurse, right?
Yeah.
But did
Yeah.
you have something you want to say about that one?
Oh, just I didn't know that was, I forgot that was in there.
Right.
I
You're
was
like,
like,
oh,
where did this come from? Um, Also, I was gonna say, are we sure that was Nicole Kidman? Was it a body double?
yeah,
Like, I'm not
yeah.
even sure it was really her.
Yeah, so like I said, this is a movie that you latch onto, and she's believable. The only thing that is the giveaway is when Jed, like I said, is walking around and she's looking at him like she's pissed that he's doing this in her house. But then when you know what the truth is, that they're actually in a relationship, you're like, oh, she's jealous and she's mad that he's burying himself in the part, so to speak, right? So that was the only
Yeah.
real giveaway. But she gets to play. I thought that twist was odd. She and Andy do have fights, but when that whole surgery happens and she just turns on Andy really quick, which from his point of view you kind of get it. He's kind of in the dark. Again, he's too timid at that moment because he hasn't fought a serial killer yet to really fight her. And then I don't know, I just thought that was a little extreme for a twist. Maybe they weren't as connected as I thought, and there were maybe hints about that. But then when she turns, there's a part where she goes to confront Andy after he's been had that confrontation with the custodian, and she's a sex pot all of a sudden. She's not homely, right? She's basically told Jed, "I will handle him," and so she shows up basically to seduce Andy back under her wares, and he's
Right.
not buying it. So I Nicole Kidman is a much better actress today. You know what I mean? She's very well regarded. She's an Oscar winner. She can do whatever she wants. She's great at whatever she wants. She can be in anything and everything. But I just thought that this kind of pigeonholed her as a sex pot and as kind of when she's yelling at Jed at one point and he slaps her across the face. Elizabeth was sitting in the room with me and she goes, "Well, she deserved that, right? Because she's so evil in a way and she's over the top." I don't know. So I like her in this. I'm just glad that she ended up doing better, richer stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it could have gone the other way. She
Yeah,
could have gone a different direction, but we're glad she didn't because she's
right.
got some talent.
Yeah.
Um, Now, Bill Pullman's a straight man. I think he's great as a straight man. I think he's someone you want to root for because he is kind of timid in this, in the beginning and
Hmm.
everything, and so you kind of latch onto him on his character.
Hmm.
And I feel bad for him when you
Exactly.
find out that she was sleeping with the Alec Baldwin and Jed, and they had this whole plot to you know
Hmm.
make all this money through this malpractice thing. It's crazy. Anyway.
By the way, I thought it was really funny when you're like, and she has this. No, she really did have a cyst in her ovaries. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Bill Pullman, I think I've always liked Bill Pullman. In fact, there's a TV show called The Sinner, I think,
Hmm.
that I is a Showtime show. I don't know who does it, but I binge watched the whole thing. Like I think it
Yeah.
was only like 2 or 3 seasons, but I binge watched the whole thing. And I was like, man, he's really good in this role. Like so if you want to see a really good Bill Pullman performance, check out The Sinner, man. It's really good.
Right. Right. Um, yeah, I really like him. He's one of those actors that he's so likable, like he's so amiable, and I don't think he's ever put in a bad performance. He's always good at what he does. He's always a very likable guy. Obviously, we know him from Independence Day. He delivers that speech in
And
Independence Day.
Spaceballs.
And
In
Spaceballs,
Spaceballs.
right? The speech in Independence Day is an all timer, though. Like, an actor would kill for a monologue like that. I think he's great. Obviously,
Yeah.
you talked about him with A Few Good Men. It's funny that Alec Baldwin played Gina Davis's husband in Beetlejuice, and Bill Pullman played Gina Davis's husband in A League of Their Own. And now we're talking about him again in this movie. But even if he's in Casper or if he's in Lost Highway, the Lynch movie, Serpent in the Rainbow is I thought it was really good in that one too. It was a very tense, kind of scary movie. Sleepless in Seattle. The way
Oh, yeah.
my favorite thing about Sleepless in Seattle is probably his character. He's a good good-hearted man in that movie. There's nothing wrong with him. He just has allergies. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the Annie character, the Meg Ryan character. They're just not right for each other. It doesn't work. But I love how he's written that scene in Sleepless in Seattle where she tells him everything, and he's like, "Look, Annie, I love you, but let's take that off the table, right?" And he's like, "I just want you to be happy." And then she says, "You're too good for me." And he goes, "No, I wouldn't put it that way, right?" He's so
Yeah.
sweet in that moment. You, I don't know. I just
But it's like,
love.
okay.
Yeah, he's just fine, right? So I've always liked him. I've never had a bad thought about him. I always like him when he shows up because he's going to do a solid job. I like that his son Lewis Pullman is a big star now, and like Top Gun Maverick and Thunderbolts, things like it seems like he's on his way up. So I like that he's taking his father's legacy. But like we talked about in the kind of the trivia, I just thought it would have been weird to end the movie with, and I could see where you would end it. Like he just gets that, Andy's like, I've been defeated, I've seen them have sex together, I'm gonna leave, and then it's the end of the movie, and so you're like, oh my gosh. But like you said, I don't think it would have been very satisfying. There's a line when Tracy comes in and sits with them, and she kind of gets the upper hand, and she stands up, and he's like, sit the f down, and it's a very satisfying the way he does it because you can tell he's taking charge, and he
Yeah.
says it in a way where she sits down, right? He talks about the pergonal and he gets under her skin. And I like again, I like that twist that he does where you find out that the kid is blind this whole time, but he kind of
Yeah.
needles at her that he's seen everything happen. And so I think that was her point of no return. And even Jed senses it when she's like, I can kill a kid, right? He's like, we're not doing that. Like, that's not part of the plan. Sure, I'll twist your ovaries, but I'm not killing a little boy, right? And she just becomes a full on like a serial killer, like a thriller villain at that point, right? But
Yeah.
going back to Bill Pullman, I think it's very satisfying. This is one of his best roles because you see that growth from him. He's in almost every scene, and you don't realize that because Baldwin and Kidman are basically front and center and have the top billing. But again, watching it this time, I was like, oh, Bill Pullman is in every single scene. He's the
Yeah.
focal character, and
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's so satisfying seeing him get the upper hand and kind of win at the not kind of win and see him win at the end.
Yeah. You mentioned the ending, and I am very happy that it ended the way it did. I'm glad they didn't go with the first original ending.
Yeah.
That would have been a letdown. I like the reveal, the kid being blind and everything, and it's just the way and the way you have like you get the impression that now he's got a shot with the what's her name
The
character.
detective. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So that's kind of, nice to see that too.
Right. Yeah, I think that's everybody. Like we said, George C. Scott shows up and it was great. And he does what George C. Scott does. I think it's kind of a thankless role, but I like that he's in there.
Yeah.
Peter Gallagher has a couple of really good lines. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I even
all
like that Peter Gallagher scene when he goes and confronts him in the office. I think that's a great scene. I
right.
think I think that's a good moment too for Bill Pullman and for Gallagher.
Yeah, because he's very vulnerable. Like he marches in there saying, I want to talk to the man that slept with my wife. And the Dennis Riley character he kind of handles it, right? He's like, I'll just let him in. Like, I'll talk to him. And he's very calm. Riley's very calm the way he talks to him and gets Andy to a point where Andy's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. Like, can you help me? What do I do? And so the Riley character says, look, go visit the mom. She's alive. I know that she said that Tracy said that she's dead, but she's alive. Bring her some scotch, right? I like that moment. Again, you've got some very, very good scenes between actors here. A lot of,
Mhm.
and that's what I think the actors, when they read the script, they're like, ooh, I could really play this. This will be fun. And I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that. It's just at the end of the day, like we talked about, the twists are so convoluted and over the top and there's so much to them that you're kind of like,
Kind of
wow.
hurts your brains.
Yeah, it does. It does. So yeah, it's just weird.
But I mean, overall, it's still entertaining. It's still fun. I still enjoy it. But I wouldn't call it what you called social network. It's not an advancement of riches in any way.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
But
So,
still well done. Still fun to watch. Um,
and I don't think anybody that worked on it really has terrific feelings about it. Like
the only thing
nobody
I
ever
will
talks
say,
about it.
I think Damages is a better title than Malice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where Malice comes from.
Well, Malice, they're all angry at each other. I guess that makes it. But Damages
Yeah.
is a much better title.
Yeah. Or Ovary Twister.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. I gotcha.
Okay, well, I guess that'll do it for Malice. Is there anything else you want to mention?
No, I think it's everything. I think you really nailed it. It's like it's a fine movie while you're watching it, but then you know, but then when you start thinking about it, it just really loses you. So yeah,
Yeah.
fun to watch, but not fun to think about.
Yeah. Okay, so what's our next episode going to be?
Okay, well, Originally, I was going, because this is our bucket list season, I was going to do Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, because that movie does mean a lot to me. And it would have been fun to talk about. It would have given me a chance to talk about Bruce Lee. But I did happen to watch, like I talked about, I'm watching a lot of YouTube reactors, and there was some that I settled on where they were watching The Fugitive. And as I was watching these reactors watch The Fugitive with Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, I was like, I have to talk about The Fugitive. It's one of my favorite movies. It's probably in my top 10 movies of the 90s. I love it
Wow.
so
Okay.
much. And so I was like, yeah, I can't. Dragon the Bruce Lee story can come a little bit later. I just really want to talk about The Fugitive. And then I have a friend named Jaylon Salah who actually writes for In Session Film, Geek Vibes Nation,
Okay.
A Shot Magazine. Anyway, she's a really good writer, a really she's her mindset is the same as ours, and so I want to ask her about her age. I know that's rude, but I want to find out how she got to that mindset if she's like us. I want to just basically pick at her brain because of the way that she looks at movies. It's going to be a really fun conversation, and I just thought when I reached out to her and I mentioned The Fugitive, she's like, I have to talk about that movie. And so I just thought, bucket list, I want to talk about it, she wants to talk about it, let's talk The Fugitive.
All right. That sounds good. Okay, then for Nostalgia Cast, I'm Johnny Craddock,
And I'm Darren Lundberg.
and welcome to the game.
You want something done right, damn it, you call the teacher.